I've been using Aftershoot consistently for the past 4 years, so yeah, in this video I'm going to show you how Aftershoot has saved me hundreds of hours of just sitting in front of the computer and how it can do exactly the same for you. For those of you not familiar with the software, Aftershoot is an AI tool that can assist us in the selection, editing, and retouching process. It doesn't replace us by any means. Think of it as an assistant. It helps us through the whole workflow, but we're still the ones making the final decisions. Anyways, the best way to show you what I'm talking about is to actually go ahead and use the software. So let's get this party started. Okay, so right here are all the projects, or most of the projects I worked in Aftershoot. As you can see, there's a lot of them. And in order for me to create a new project, I gotta create a new album. And since I'm gonna be doing some AI culling and editing, I'm gonna click right here. If I would have wanted to retouch some photos, I would have created an album here. Now, this is very important. In order for me to retouch photos, they already have to be in JPEG. We cannot retouch raw images. That is because when we are working with photos, retouching is usually the last part of the process, and by that time our photos have already been converted to JPEG. So when retouching, if I want to use Aftershoot, I have already to have those photos in JPEG in order for Aftershoot to be able to work on them. But since right now all I'm going to do is culling and editing, I'm going to create an album right here. On the top left corner, I'm going to name this album. This is going to be called Antonella Sunflowers. Perfect. Right here on the right hand side, I can include or not include subfolders inside the folder that I'm going to import. Since the folder where I have the images has more folders with more photos I want included in this project, I'm gonna click yes. Then I'm gonna go here into the import and I'm gonna look for my photos. Now it's gonna ask me what kind of photo shoot this was. Was it a wedding, portraits, family portraits, school portraits, whatever. This is very important because there's different selection algorithms for different kinds of photo shoots. Let's do it real quick. If I am shooting a wedding and the father is walking the bride down the aisle and he is crying, those tears, those emotional tears are nice and important, and they are accepted inside or within the wedding photography genre. But if I am shooting a kids party and some kids are crying and I get some photos of kids crying, I do not want those photos in my final selection. So in some cases, tears are welcome, and in other cases, tears are not welcome. That is why I gotta tell the software what kind of photo shoot I'm gonna be working in so the software can know what to include and what not to include. In my case, I'm going to be working with portraits and headshots, so I click here and all my photos get imported. The next step is going to be to cull or select my images. As you can see, I can go step by step over here. I already imported my photos. I can cull them, I can edit them, and in case I want to, I can retouch them too. I'm gonna click on the cull tab. Now I got all my photos here. This is a photo shoot I did for a video in this channel, and I'm gonna start culling. Okay, so right here I can decide how I am going to select or cull my images. If I want something quick and easy, I'm gonna click right here, and then I don't have as many options. Now, all I gotta do is I gotta tell Aftershoot how to group my duplicate images. And this is important because this is how the software can select my images and can discard images that are not going to be included in my final selection. It is by grouping them. I can have small groups or I can have large groups. What's the difference between large and smaller groups? So what do we mean by large and small groups? Well, let's take me as an example. I'm one person, same background, same spot, same lighting. All the photos you can take of me right here in essence are gonna be part of the same group if I choose large groups. If I chose small groups, from the photos you take here, Aftershoot is gonna start separating them into different smaller groups once different differences start getting introduced, like distance from the camera, angles, expressions. So in essence, if you want more photos out of your final result of the selection process, choose smaller groups. If you want less photos out of the final result of your selection process, choose large groups. And then I would just start culling. But since I want to be able to control what Aftershoot is going to do, since it's my assistant and I want to be able to tell it exactly what I want it to do, I'm gonna choose a different culling type. I'm gonna go with the AI automatic culling. So right here, I can either choose how I want the selection process to go. If I wanted to give me a standard number of photos, if I wanted to give me a lot of photos, if I wanted to give me a very extreme selected group of photos, then I can just control it here and I can start culling. That's another way to go fast with the whole selection process. But like I said, I want to be able to control the process. I want to be able to give it more information. So I'm going to go with this option right here. With the first tap, what I can do is I can create a group of selected images out of the already selected group of photos Aftershoot is going to give me. Something like a best of the best. This is great when you have like a wedding. I don't know, you shot a wedding today, 5,000 photos, and the bride writes a message to you tomorrow. Hey, can you send me the best 20 photos so I can post something on my Instagram? And all of a sudden you're in a pickle because you shot 5,000 photos. How are you going to decide what are the best 20 images out of 5,000? Well, that's when you activate the highlight photos section, because what Aftershoot is going to do is it's going to select the best images out of the bunch, and out of that already smaller selected group of photos, it's going to pick the best ones, the best of the best. In my case, I don't need that, so I'm going to deactivate it. I already told you how the whole groups thing works. If you want more photos as a final result, you go into small groups, and if you want less photos as a final result, you go into large groups. Now, right here is, I'm going to tell the software what to do with the blurry photos. If I want it to be lenient and include blurry photos, I don't care, just allow them to go through the selection process. If I want it to be moderate, that means accept some blurry photos and just leave some behind. Or if I want it to be strict and I do not want blurry photos to be accepted into my final group of photos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be strict about it. And then right here, I can tell the software to detect or not detect photos with eyes closed. In my case, this is a portrait photo shoot. I want the eyes to be open, so I have this option activated right here. And just like that, Aftershoot is right now going through the selection process, and I don't have to be a part of it. That's a good thing about having an AI assistant. You don't have to be a part of the process while it's doing the selection for you. So it's actually freeing you of the time you used to spend just sitting in your computer, going through photos, saying this one yes, this one no, wait, I'm gonna go back because I think I like the other one better. Aftershoot is here to give you that time back. Okay, so I just got an email telling me that the selection process is done. Aftershoot has already selected the images from my portrait photo shoot, and it says that from the 1,436 photos that I shot, I have a final number of 330 selected images. These are all the photos here, of course, selected with the green square because they are part of the 5-star selected photos. I also have different groups with duplicate images, blurry images, eyes closed images, etc. So it's important to note that the software is not deleting any photos. It's basically filtering them into different categories so I can be able to make the final decision if I want to make any different decisions from what Aftershoot already did for me. So let's check this out. As you can see, there's some numbers on the top left corner of some of these photos. What does this mean? Well, let's take this one for example. There's a 5 right here. What this means is this photo is part of a group that has another 5 photos that are similar to it, and this was selected as the best one out of the group. I can double click here so I can open the group and I can see the other images that are these ones here that were not selected. So if I wanted to change the selection and I like this one better, I can change Aftershoot selection. There's different ways to do it. So there's a lot of keyboard shortcuts up here that you can read and use, but I always use the same 3 letters of my keyboard. And I'm gonna show you right now. It's either A, S, or X. If I am in a group that already has a selected photo and I see another photo in this group that I also like and I want to add it, I use the A key, as in adding. And this photo that had a yellow frame immediately is going to go green. Perfect. If there was a photo selected in a group that I did not like but had been selected, like this one right here, and I want to take it out of my selection, I would press the letter X as in no. And then it's gonna lose the green frame, which means it's no longer selected. Perfect. So this way I can start correcting the selection that Aftershoot has done for me. Now, in the beginning, when you're first starting with Aftershoot, you're going to have to correct a lot of it because even though the software is trained in photography, it's not trained in your own personal and particular likings and styles. So think of it as an assistant that just came out of college. If they're going to be your assistant, they have to learn from you. The exact same thing happens with Aftershoot. It knows about photography, but it doesn't know about your photography. We have this group right here. This is the photo it selected. There's other photos right here. I am not quite liking this photo, as you can see in the key faces area. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to see what other photos are part of this group. Okay, let's say instead of this photo, I like this one and I want to change it, right? I could click X with this and click A with this, or I could use the other key that I told you that I use, which is the S key, standing for swap, which means I'm going to swap this photo for the original one that was selected. So see how this was yellow? It's now going to turn green once I press on the S key, and the original selected image is going to go yellow. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Now we swapped the selection. Now, like I told you, what I should be doing is I should be correcting the selection if this is one of my first times using Aftershoot, so that the software knows what I liked and what I didn't like as a final result of the selection process. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and go through the editing process. Now, before we start editing our photos, we gotta know there's different ways to go about it. You can either create your own personal AI editing style, or you can use an editing style that you can find within Aftershoot Marketplace that we have already created for you. Let's see that second one first. So this is Aftershoot Marketplace right here, and there are a lot of different editing styles available for you. Some are for sale, some are free, and you can double click to see what each style is gonna do to your images. We have this one right here. You can see the before and after. You can check if it does more or less something that you like. And if you haven't created your own personal AI profile, well, you can use one of this here, which is available for you to use whenever you want to. And like I said, there's some other styles created by different photographers that are for sale, and they can get right here too in Aftershoot Marketplace. And of course, you can get to know the photographer a little more. You can see what the style does to each image. You can see the before and after right here. Some stuff is just very subtle. Some other profiles might have more noticeable editing, but sometimes less is more, right? Okay, so I told you there were two different ways you could go about it. The second one was to use one of the profiles that we have already created and are available for you in Aftershoot Marketplace. And the first one was for you to create your own personal AI profile. How would you do that? Well, to create your own personal AI profile, you need two things. First, you need the Lightroom catalogs or Capture One catalogs of the photos you want to introduce to your profile. And the second thing you need is the raw images included in those catalogs, so Aftershoot can see what you have done in the past. The purpose here is to show Aftershoot how you edit, what you've done with different photos in different scenarios, so the software can learn how you edit and can mimic your own editing style in future editings. So how do we do it? Let's do it right now. Okay, so we're gonna get out of here because we have to create our own personal profile. I'm going to go here to AI profiles. I'm going to create a new profile. Let's call it sunflowers. It's going to be created with raw images, of course. They are color photos, and the catalog comes from Lightroom Classic. Perfect. Continue. Now it's going to immediately open up a lot of different Lightroom catalogs that I can introduce into my profile. Now, important. As photographers, we have different jobs, different things we do. I, for instance, shoot events, conferences, food, real estate, portraits, etc. And I do not edit my portraits the same way I edit my food shots. I'm just going to introduce different portrait shoots that I've done so the software understands how I edit my portraits. So right now, let's say I introduce right here, this one's over here, all of these different portrait shoots that I have. Perfect. Let's add the catalogs. And right now, the software is going to be reading the photos out of these catalogs that have been edited. That's basically it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upload them. So only during this part of the process, you need to be connected to the internet, because what the software is going to do is it's going to upload your catalogs. It's going to upload the information from each edited raw file. So in the cloud, everything gets processed, and Aftershoot understands what you have done, how you behave in different situations. Let's say when you're editing overexposed photos or underexposed photos, or flash photography, or outside photography, or inside photography, or whatever. And then once it interprets your editing style, your profile is going to be downloaded in your computer. After that, you don't need to be connected to the internet ever again. Okay, so I've already created my AI profile, and I'm going to go to the edit tab right here. I'm going to choose the profile. As you can see, I have different profiles right here. I'm going to choose the profile that I'm going to use to edit my photos. I'm going to go with this one right here. And I'm going to tell it what I want edited and what I don't want edited. Let's see it. So I'm going to use Adobe Color because that's what I usually use. Do I want my images to be cropped? I can tell it to crop them. There's different ways to crop them. It can be aggressive with the crop, which means it can crop in quite a bit, or I can tell it to be loose with the crop and just crop a little bit into it, maybe straighten my image, because I also have the straighten option right here. I can even tell it what ratio I want my photo to be in, 3:4, 5:7, etc. In my case, I don't want my photos cropped, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. Do I want them straightened? Sure, I'll straighten them. Of course, by selecting AI straightening, my photos are gonna get a little crop, but that's okay, it's not too much. Do I want Aftershoot to create masks around my subjects? I can create masks, or I can just leave it like this. When Aftershoot create masks, I got different options. I can ask it to only create a mask, or I can ask it to create a mask and apply some edits to my mask. So right here, I'm going to tell it what photos I want edited. In my case, I want the 5-star green selected photos, which is a total of 193 images. And those are the photos that I've already selected, and those are the photos I want edited. So I'm gonna click on edit right here. And just like when we went through the selection process, when you are going through the editing process, you do not have to be sitting down in your computer. Again, you can go have phone calls, you can go spend time with your family, you can sleep if you want, because us photographers, believe it or not, every now and then, we do need to sleep. So that's the great thing about AI as an assistant. You do not have to be there babying the process. Once it's done, just like when I went through the selection process, I'm going to get an email saying, hey, by the way, your edits are done. You can come back and you can check the images, which is what I'm gonna do right now. Okay, so I imported all of the photos into a Lightroom catalog, and since those photos were marked as 5 stars, I've selected and I filtered them by 5 stars. So those are the photos right here, which are the final selected images from the portrait photo shoot that I selected and edited using Aftershoot. As you can see here, you can see the before and after, and this is the edit with the AI editing profile that I created. So I can basically correct whatever I want to correct right here in Lightroom, and I can bring this Lightroom catalog back into Aftershoot, so Aftershoot can learn from my corrections and can keep on improving my editing AI profile, which is important because, like I told you, Aftershoot is an AI assistant that has to learn from someone, and in this case, it has to learn from me, or in your case, it has to learn from you. These are the final edited images that I edited using Aftershoot edits, and I can just go ahead and export my photos, and then if I want to retouch them, I can retouch them, and my whole work is already done. Look, I've edited 164 photos. I went through the selection process from around, what was it, 1,400 images to only 164 in no time. Imagine how long this would have taken me if I would have gone manually selecting yes, no, and if I would have edited manually all of its images, that would have taken a while. There you have it, that's a complete culling and editing workflow using Aftershoot. The amount of time AI is going to save you is amazing. So if you haven't tried it out yet, take advantage of our first free month so you can try everything out and you can decide for yourself how Aftershoot can save your life. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to follow Aftershoot in all of our social media to be always up to date with the latest we have to offer. See you all in the next one. Bye.